Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Vallabha Radha Vallabha Radhe Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Baladeva, Jai Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacharya Shtotra Sat His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Vallabha Ki Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadramai Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganda Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahaganda Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Very happy to be back here in Bhakta Bhavan, in the house of Nityananda Priya Prabhu, Vasudha Priya Mataji, and also our Shyam Sundar. And also all of you who are staying here in this building. How many of you are staying in this building? Raise your hand. Oh, quite a few. Okay, fine. Oh, all of you. You have the balcony seat. This place has been a very important place for the Krishna consciousness movement here. Many people have come to Krishna consciousness by attending programs here. And now this whole building is hijacked and has become a Krishna conscious building where there are only devotees residing, right? So this is the greatest fortune that one can get in life, to get Krishna consciousness, which is the most valuable thing, the most precious thing in our life. It is something that can never be taken away from us. It can be covered for some time, but it cannot be taken away. Other things can be taken away. Material things like money can be stolen, or you may lose it in some bad business, or taxes may take it away, inflation may take it away. So money may be taken away by so many things. Name and fame can be taken away. Today somebody is very famous and popular. The next day he could become very unpopular and lose all his fame and good name. Health, wealth, prestige, house, job, everything can come and go in a moment. But Krishna consciousness will never go. Never ever go once you have got it. Whatever is the degree of Krishna consciousness that we have developed in this life will remain to our credit always, never to disappear. What a wonderful thing it is. So when we say that we should become Krishna conscious, what we mean is we are saying become wealthy. Becoming wealthy, when you use this term, people think in terms of dollars and cents and rupees and pounds and so on, or gold and silver. But becoming wealthy means to acquire that wealth which will never be lost, that will never reduce in its value according to inflation or taxes or something. That wealth which will constantly increase, but which will never reduce. Is there any wealth like this in the material world? Even if you have the richest person in the world, his wealth may go on increasing, but when he dies, then that wealth is taken away from him. It's gone, finished. He may not be born in the next life in the family of a millionaire. So therefore, wealth and all these things are not really actual wealth at all. Real wealth, however, is that which will always be with us and which will contribute something for our welfare. What is it that is real wealth? What do we expect from wealth to happen? When we have a lot of wealth, what do we expect in return for that wealth? What do we expect that that wealth should do for us? Give us happiness. What else? Satisfaction, peace, enjoyment. So we are hoping that wealth will become a source or a medium of us getting so many benefits. Because we hope to get some benefits from wealth, that we try to acquire wealth. You may get a big house, you may get comforts, you may get luxuries, you may get prestige and name and fame as a rich man. So because there is some facility available, some comfort, some benefits that accrue from wealth in our estimation, therefore we want wealth. So wealth is that which can give us some perceived benefit. Otherwise, what is the value of wealth? Now, for example, if someone were to give you a suitcase full of Australian dollars, maybe each note is a $100 note, and a suitcase full of such notes, would you think it's valuable? Any normal person will think, yes, definitely it's valuable. Because a suitcase of $100 notes can total how much? It can become hundreds of thousands of dollars, yes? And that can get you many things in Australia. In the Second World War, there was so much inflation that the value of money reduced drastically. It cost a suitcase of notes, currency notes in Germany to buy a loaf of bread. So do you see how the currency was devalued? Because of inflation and so many other factors. So there was no value left to currency. So to buy a loaf of bread, you had to carry a suitcase of notes, currency notes, big denomination notes. And it is said that if you by chance left your suitcase full of notes at one point and it got stolen, it would be stolen not for the notes but for the suitcase. Because the suitcase was more valuable than the notes. Because at least the suitcase had some benefit. You could use it for something. But that currency note was of no value. You couldn't use it. So what is considered wealth today may not be considered wealth tomorrow. So that bundle of currency notes may have been considered a lot of wealth some years ago. But in the span of a few years, what was perceived to be very valuable has become completely valueless now. In other words, wealth is something that we imagine or estimate will give us some value and some benefit, some very distinct, clear benefit. The greater the benefit that we can get from something, we consider that wealth to be greater. Something costs us £100, $100, something is worth another $200. We think this is more valuable because if you sell this, you will get $200. With $200, you can do more benefit to yourself than with $100. So ultimately, the whole concept of wealth boils down to your estimation of how much benefit you can get from it. What the wealth can do for you in fulfilling your desires, your objectives. Am I right? Does it sound logical? Now, if someone were to tell you, you meet somebody and he says, look, I'm running a bank and this is a very nice bank. Please invest your life savings in this bank. And this bank is destined and certain to collapse and go into liquidation in 1 month's time. So please put your life saving in this bank. Are you going to do that? No confident answers. Why don't you confidently reply? No, right? Yes? You will put or you will not put? Not put. Short sell. So you're not going to put your money in that bank because you know it is going to collapse. And you lose your money with it. If you're about to cross a river, and you know the boatman tells you we'll cross the river, but look, this boat has a hole. So by the time we reach the middle of the river, it's going to collapse. But still I'll try to take you across. So are you going to sit in that boat? No. In this world, however, we place all our hopes, all our aspirations, all our dreams on boats with holes and banks that are going to collapse. In other words, we are always placing our hopes in hopeless things. The hopeless thing that begins the whole problem is this body. Think, oh, well, the body is hopeless. It's not hopeless. Because the body is the cause of our desires. The body is the cause of our struggling for everything in this world. The body is hopeless because the body is like that boat with a hole. It's like that bank which is going to collapse. Is this body going to collapse sometime? Sure? Is someone immune from that? No. There is a section in the Mahabharata where Yudhishthir Maharaj is in the Himalayas. And there is an entity of a higher planet, of a higher dimension, who is a yaksha, another species of life, higher species than humans. So he intercepts him there is a big pastime before that which I will not get into. And the 4 Pandavas, apart from Yudhishthir, they're all lying there apparently lifeless on the shore of a lake. They were not supposed to have gone there, but they went there. So somehow this yaksha caused them to become lifeless. So finally, when none of the 4 brothers return, Yudhishthir Maharaj gets very worried and he goes there. And eventually he finds, to his utter shock, the 4 Pandavas are lying lifeless on the shore of this pond or this lake. And just as he's about to drink water, there is a voice, "Don't drink water. Otherwise you will meet the same fate as your 4 brothers, who also did the same." So then now he's intelligent. The other 4 brothers had not heeded that warning. They thought, well, we are powerful Panda warriors. Who can stop us from drinking water if we want to? We are Kshatriyas, we are bold warriors. Who is this person who can come and stop us from drinking water? So they went ahead and tried to drink water, with the result that they fell down immediately after they touched the water. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, being very, very intelligent, understood that this was the cause of their being in this condition. So therefore he didn't touch the water. He says, "All right, but who are you?" He couldn't see the person. Then the yaksha appeared before him. This yaksha was actually Yamaraj or Dharmaraj. He had come in disguise to test Maharaj Yudhishthir and his brothers. His brothers had failed the test. But Yudhishthir Maharaj was the most intelligent amongst the 5 brothers. So when Yudhishthir Maharaj asked the yaksha, "So then, what is this? Why have you done this to my brothers, and who are you?" He said, "I am a yaksha, and your brothers have intruded into my territory, which they are not supposed to do. So therefore they have paid the price for it with their life. So if you also want to avoid paying this price, and if you want to revive your brothers again, then you will have to answer all the questions I'm asking you." And then he proceeds to ask many questions, short questions. And he says, you have to give correct answers. If you don't give the right answer, immediately you will fall down and be like them. So Yudhishthir Maharaj said, "All right." So he asked him many questions, one after the other. This is a very famous episode in the Mahabharata. It's called Yaksha Prashna. Prashna means question. The questions asked by the Yaksha to King Yudhishthir. And one of the questions he asked, the Yaksha asked Maharaj Yudhishthir was, "What is the most amazing thing in this world? What's the most surprising thing in this world?" And Yudhishthir Maharaj replied, "Ahanya ahani bhutani gachanti ha yamalayam sheshah sthavaramicchanti kim ascharyamatah param." He says, ahani. Ahani means day. Ahanya ahani means day after day. Bhutani means living entities. Gachanti. Gachanti, they go. Iha, all of them go. Where do they go? Yamalayam. Alay means house, like Vidyalay means the house of knowledge. Himalaya means the house of snow. So Yamalaya means the house of Yama, Yamaraj. Who is Yamaraj? The demigod in charge of death. So he is the one who takes our subtle body, our soul away from the body. He is the one who will decide what is our punishment or reward in the next life. So Yamaloka means, or Yamalaya means Yamaloka, to the planet of Yamaraj, where we are destined, where our destiny is then decided. In other words, it's a poetic way of saying that day after day we see people dying. Instead of speaking like that, Yudhishthir Maharaj speaks in a poetic way. Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti ha yamalayam. So day after day, we see that in this world people are dying. Going to Yamalaya means that people die. Sheshaha, but those who are remaining still, Those who haven't died, those who are still alive, sthavaram icchanti. They don't want to go to Yamalayam. They don't want to die. On the contrary, they think they're never going to die. It happened to him, but it won't happen to me. Nobody who dies in a tragedy, in an accident, or in a catastrophe or calamity thinks or knows that he or she will die. Whether it's an earthquake or a volcano or an aeroplane accident, ship accident. Recently there was that South Korean tragedy where ship just turned. None of the children who were in that ferry must have ever thought that I'm going to die today. None of the parents of those children would have ever dreamed of such a thing. But it happened. It happens so often. One airplane disappeared. It probably collapsed in the sea, they say. But still, we think it can't happen to me. Somehow luck is going to always favor me and I will be secure always. But those people were also thinking like that before at some time, that it's not going to happen to me. So Sheshahas Thavaram Icchanti. So those who don't die, they think death will never come to me and I can go on living forever and ever and ever. In other words, they never prepare for death. They never think it's something to worry about. They never ask the most important questions of life as to why should I prepare for death? What is death? What is the goal of my life? Why am I here in this world? They don't think that these are questions important enough to ask. Or even if they ask, they think, well, all right, it's one of those things in life. But still I have to enjoy life, I have to earn so much money, I have this plan, I have that plan. So therefore Yudhishthir Maharaj says, Kim ascharya matah param? What can be more surprising or amazing than this? That even though we are seeing every day something happening, some calamity happening, but we think it's not going to happen to me. Similarly also it is described that the human species are unique for many things, but one of the things is that even though they are suffering, they don't want to accept their suffering. They want to think that they are happy. They don't want to face the reality of their suffering condition. So long as this body is there, it's going to suffer. It's going to bring suffering. The body and mind in this world are programmed to give us suffering of different kinds. Is anyone immune from suffering in this world? No. But when we look at other people suffering, we think, well, I'm okay. So we never really question deeply, why is this suffering taking place? Temporarily for some time that suffering is covered over by some relief and we think, I'm happy. So we don't have any conception of positive happiness. For us, happiness is merely relief from some distress. If you are in intense pain, and that pain is relieved for some time, you feel, oh, I'm so happy now. When you're freed from an abnormal condition, you think the normal condition to be happiness, whereas it's just normal. You know, in the olden days, in India, the kings used to have a peculiar form of punishment for criminals. They would have that criminal dunked in water. Some soldier would catch the criminal and put his head under the water for a long time. Long time means as long as he's just on the verge of death. Just at that time, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or whatever it was. Because after all, how long can you hold your breath under the water? Then suddenly they would lift him up. And when he was lifted out of the water, what did he experience? He was just taking his breath and he think, this is bliss. But that is what every other person on the surface of the land is doing anyway. He's breathing. We are breathing millions of times a day. We don't even think about our breaths. We take it for granted. Even sitting here after the lecture began, we've been breathing so many times. Have you noticed how many times you have breathed? No. But when that breathing is stopped, then we realize, oh, it's so painful. And when we get restored to that condition, then we feel this is happiness. But it's not really happiness. It is just a relief from an abnormal condition. So we do not have an idea what is positive happiness. So because in this world, everybody tries to camouflage their unhappiness and suffering, everybody wants to present themselves as being very happy and successful and nice and fine in life. So the whole world is laboring under illusion. Srila Prabhupada used to say, even if you go to a patient in a hospital to visit him and ask him, how are you? He'll say, I'm fine. So Prabhupada said, what is the meaning of that? If he's fine, why is he in the hospital? So it's a fine meaning that now I'm not in so much pain. That's the meaning, the purport. The commentary on the word I'm fine means that I was suffering like anything yesterday, but today after the doctors treated me, I'm painless, which means I'm fine. So the conception of happiness or distress again is, or happiness is that freedom from distress is happiness. Do you get this point? There is no positive conception of happiness. And because everybody is projecting, as if projecting some kind of happy situation, and the advertisements and the billboards and everything around us is giving us an impression that this is what happiness is all about, we also get misled. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would narrate this humorous anecdote one time. He would tell many funny stories like this, which had a message or a moral. So one time there was a circus that came to town. Because nowadays you don't see so many circuses. But in the olden days, 50 years back or so, circus was very popular and common. So when the circus came to town, then the whole town would go and visit the circus. So then they set up a huge tent in a certain place, and people stood in line to buy the tickets. And what's more, in this circus, they announced that we are going to sell tickets for only 10 cents. Normally the ticket price would be $50 or something. But here they said only 10 cents ticket. And such a fabulous circus. So naturally everybody was interested to come there. So they all came and stood in line. Huge line, because everybody was keen to buy tickets for such a wonderful circus with such a cheap ticket. So the first man in line was called in. Yes, you pay 10 cents and go in. So he went inside. When he went inside, he saw this completely empty. The whole tent there's nothing in the tent. So where is the circus? What happened? So then he looked around and he saw this huge man who was like 6.5 or 7 feet tall. It also looked like he was also 6 feet broad. So he looked at this man, said, so, you want to see a circus for 10 cents? So he caught him and beat him to pulp. So you want to see a circus for 10 cents? All right, come on, I'll give you a circus for 10 cents. So after he beat him up, he said, okay, now you go. So now this poor fellow, it was a question of his prestige. He had been fooled. Yes, he had been fooled completely. So now how could he show that he had been fooled to everybody else? So he had to put up a brave face. He didn't mind if the other fellow got fooled also. But he didn't want to be the one to show to the world that, look, I got fooled. So then after he was beaten up, then he smoothened his clothes and set his hair right and everything, and went out with a bright smile on the face. So the other persons who were standing in lines, he asked, so how was the circus? Oh, fabulous circus, wonderful circus. Wonderful circus. So the second man went in and the same story happened. And the third man. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained that this is the tragedy of the modern world. Everybody is suffering, but nobody wants to accept it, or even if they accept it, they want to present an illusion of happiness, or they want to cover up the reality by various other lifestyles and so on and so forth. So they are fooling themselves and they are trying to fool the world. But the point is that this world is a place of misery. You cannot be happy in this world by material endeavors alone. It is only by Krishna consciousness, it is only by taking to spiritual life that we can actually be happy. Then we begin to understand what is real happiness. So, when it's a question of spiritual life, we must have faith, not just that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not just that we are the eternal soul, but we must also have strong faith about the nature of this world. That it is a world of misery, you cannot be happy in this world. Because if we think that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and it's fine, Goloka Vrindavan, Vaikuntha is a wonderful place, I'd like to go there, but this is also not a bad place. Melbourne is also nice, decent. I can play golf, I can go to the pubs in the evening, I can do this or I can do that. It's not such a bad place after all. So therefore, one of the important elements of spiritual progress is to have faith not just in Krishna, not just in Bhakti, but also in the true nature of this world. To know that it is futile, it is useless to place our hopes for happiness in this world. This faith is very important. Srila Prabhupada used to say that there are many professional speakers of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they often speak to audiences who are not well versed in spiritual topics. And the reciters or the speakers, they speak on Ras Leela or some such particular very esoteric pastimes of the Lord. But they never speak about philosophical points like this material world is a place of misery. You cannot be happy by material endeavors in this world. They never talk these things because these things are unpleasant to hear. Therefore, it is said that the speaker and the listener should be on the same page. Use your language, use that, no? On the same page, on the same wavelength. That means, if the speaker is one who believes that this material world there is still some scope for happiness, then he should also have people like that in the audience. Otherwise, there is no fun. The audience should also be attuned to the idea that yes, this material world, you cannot be happy. You can be happy only in Krishna consciousness. If both the speaker and the audience are on that wavelength, if they have that faith that this material world cannot give us happiness and real happiness is only in Krishna consciousness, then it's a perfect combination. Both speaker and audience feel very happy. Or you have to have both speaker and audience who feel that there is hope for happiness in this material world. Then the speaker may encourage them, yes, you also do this, no problem. Srila Prabhupada said when he went to America for the first time, he wasn't the first Indian sadhu who went there. Many yogis and so on used to go there, were there before him. But he said none of them told them the bitter truths of life. They only told them stories of, you just chant this mantra, give me $10 and it's okay, it's fine. All your problems will be solved. They never gave them the philosophy of life. They never gave them knowledge. They just gave some mantra and he said, give me this much money and that's it. So therefore, by obtaining real knowledge from the scriptures, we develop faith and understanding. Then we develop the faith that this material world is a place where we cannot have hopes for happiness. This staunch conviction is very, very necessary. Then we can further progress in our life and understand other spiritual truths. So if this material world is a place of misery, then where should we place our goal and hopes in life? In the world beyond this material world. That is in the spiritual world. So hopes for Krishna consciousness are real hopes. They are not some imaginary things. So in Krishna consciousness, we are given a balanced understanding of what this world is and what the world beyond is. You should want to strive for that goal, having full faith that that world exists. Krishna is reality, the spiritual world is reality, and this material world is not a place for happiness. That faith is required. You know this famous episode that happened between a reporter, press reporter lady in America and Srila Prabhupada. This press reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, "You're always talking about Krishna, Krishna, Krishna all the time. I don't realize how you're so confident that Krishna exists. You talk about spiritual world. How are you so confident that it exists? I don't have faith. We don't believe that." So then she asked, "What if after death you find out that there is no Krishna? Then what will you do?" So Srila Prabhupada replied, "So there is no loss. See, now I'm living as a devotee. I'm having a happy life. I'm discussing nice philosophy with devotees. I eat wonderful prasadam. I have nice devotional music. And I am living a very happy life, pure life. So even if after death, hypothetically, if I were to find there is no Krishna, there is no loss for me." But then Prabhupada said, "I want to ask you a question now. And the question is, if after death you realize that there is Krishna, then what will you do?" Very important point. Because you have committed sinful activities all your life. You are an atheist, you don't even believe in God. You're committing so many sinful activities, now you'll have to answer. You'll have to receive the reactions of all your karma, of your bad karma. So then you will realize that Krishna exists. So therefore, as responsible, intelligent human beings, we must have very strong faith that Krishna exists, and to obtain Krishna or love for Krishna is the real goal of our life. We should arrange our life in such a way that we can ultimately achieve that goal. This faith is very important. That faith can be nurtured in the association of devotees. So we should come regularly to the association of devotees because faith begets faith. From faith, we will get more faith. Sometimes Krishna can do things in our life that will shake our faith, but we should not lose faith. Srila Prabhupada narrated another nice story, very beautiful story. It's actually a true story. There was this one Brahmana who was also a nice devotee of Lord Krishna. He was a very simple, pious Brahmin. And he didn't do any job or anything. All he would just go, and as Brahmins were supposed to do, he would beg for alms, and from whatever he got on that day, he would feed himself and his wife. So they were very, very poor. So one day in the morning, he was reading Bhagavad Gita as was his custom, his practice. So he came to chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita. In that chapter, he came to verse number 22. Which is that verse? Anyone knows? Huh? 9.22. Anyone knows? Which is that verse? Nowadays everyone has iPhones and iPads and everyone is quickly looking into the Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. For one who is constantly devoted to me, who is worshipping me with love and devotion, constantly absorbed in me, who is meditating on me constantly without interruption, serving me constantly, I provide such a person everything he or she needs, and I protect whatever he or she has. So this is Krishna's promise of protection. That if we lack something, as committed, surrendered devotees, Krishna will provide it. And if we have something, Krishna will protect it. Provided what? No. Provided ananyas chintayanto mam. Provided we always constantly meditating on Him. Provided we are constantly Krishna conscious. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate. And we should be constantly engaged in serving Krishna. So for those who are involved in always serving Krishna and meditating on Him and thinking about Him, who are Krishna conscious, for them, Krishna says, I will protect you. I will take care of your needs. Don't worry. This don't worry concept comes many times in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna keeps encouraging Arjuna, and through Arjuna all of us, don't worry. You surrender to me and I will take care of you. Why are you worried? But you must surrender to me. Srila Prabhupada used to say that the elephants in the forest don't go to school, don't go to college, don't go to offices, they don't open business and shops, but their stomach gets full. The ants, they also don't go to office and school and get degrees, but they get their food. The ant may eat a few grains of food every day. The elephant may eat many tons of food every day. But who is providing them food? It is the Supreme Lord. God is providing them food. So if God can provide food to the elephant, to the ant, God is providing food even to the atheist. So why will He not provide food to the surrendered devotee who is always Krishna conscious? You know how the communists in the older Russian Revolution time, 100 years ago, what propaganda they used to do? You're aware of the Russian Revolution of 100 years ago? You must have heard the time of Lenin in Russia. There used to be kings in Russia in those days. But the communists led by Lenin and others, they became very strong. They were doing lots of propaganda. Eventually they overthrew the king and they became the leaders of Russia. So there was a communist government after that. And the communist philosophy is basically an atheistic philosophy. So they don't believe in God. And the ordinary villagers in Russia, the farmers and so on, they were simple folk. And they believed in God and they would go to their church and so on and worship. So these people, the Communist Party people, would go to the poor farmers in the villages when they were having a difficult time in a famine or something like that. And they would tell them, look, you don't have any bread now. Where is your God? What is your God doing for you? Okay, so you go to church, you pray. And we will again come next week and see whether God has provided you your bread or not. So they went to the church. They came back, no bread, still no bread available. So after some time, the communist people came with truck full of bread. So then they said, did you get your bread? Did God give you the bread? They said, no, we didn't get bread. So then he said, okay, here we are. We are the Communist Party people and we are bringing you bread. So then they distributed bread to all the poor farmers there. And they said, now you should follow the Communist Party, don't follow God. Do you realize the flaw? Do you realize the beauty of this whole situation? What is it? Yes, actually it was God who sent the communists with the bread. They went and prayed to God to give us bread, and God used the communists as instruments to send the bread to them. The communists were thinking, we are the ones who have given bread. So ultimately it is God who maintains us, who protects us, provides us everything we need, but we need that faith. Ye jana paryupa. So when Krishna says, Yoga kshemam vahamyaham, I personally will protect what you have and give you what you lack. But you must be my surrendered devotee, who is always serving me and who is absorbed in me, that who is Krishna conscious. So when this Brahman was reading this verse, suddenly a doubt came in his mind. And he started thinking, how is this possible? I mean, Krishna is God and he is living far away in the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. And how can he come here and personally give every devotee what they need? This seems very difficult to believe. He may send some agent. You see, those communists became agents of God, no? Unknowingly. But they became agents. So this Brahman was thinking, Krishna may use agents, that much I can understand. But here he says, Vaham yaham, aham, I will personally come and deliver. How can that be? So the Brahmana had some doubt. He said, no, not possible. So he used his logic, he was thinking. Said, no, not possible. How can Krishna personally come like this? So then he used his pen and he cut out that line. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham, that vahami aham, that thing he cut out. He said, no, that's not possible. And then it was time for him to go out for his bhiksha, to beg alms. So he went everywhere. And that day, unfortunately, was a bad day for him. Nobody gave him any alms. So he was getting very tired, he was hungry, and he was thinking, na poor wife, she will also not get anything to eat now. So anyway, he was still trying his luck, going to every home, but every home said sorry. Somehow or the other, first time it ever happened. In the meanwhile, there was a knock on the door of this Brahmana's house. This Brahmana's wife was alone at home. She was so poor that they didn't even have proper clothes to wear. So somehow she covered herself and she opened the door and looked, and she saw two very beautiful boys there, young small boys. And they looked very bright and shining. And she opened the door and said, what do you want? Who are you? She said, your husband has sent us here. So why? He has sent many things for you. So then she looked and she saw there were baskets. There were couple of baskets filled with all kinds of grains and vegetables and fruits and sugar and salt, whatever was needed, spices, everything was there. All kinds of delicious foods were also there. And she was amazed. She said, "How is that?" He said, "Yes, are you sure my husband sent?" "Yes, yes, your husband sent this for you." So she was very happy. So she said, "Okay, come inside. Let me also cook a nice meal for you." So the boy said, "No, no, 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 no. We are not going to stay even a moment longer. We have done our job and now we have to run away and go. We are very afraid." So she said, "Why are you afraid?" He said, "Your husband, we are afraid of your husband." So why? What did he do? He said, "Oh, your husband beat us. He told us to take this heavy basket to your house, and then we were saying it's too heavy, and then he beat us on the back." And they showed their backs, and there were marks of canes. There was a mark of the cane on the boy's back. So she was shocked. She said, "How is this? I have never known my husband to be such a cruel man. Never in his life I think he has beaten anybody like this." She said, "Okay, you don't worry. I'll take care of my husband when he comes. Yeah? So you just come." So she prepared a meal and fed the meal to these two boys. And then these two boys were very happy and they left from there. And soon after that, this Brahmana came home. His head was hanging down and he looked tired, thirsty, very morose. So he came back very dejected and he sat down. He saw his wife's face. She was really standing there with like this. She said, "What is the problem?" He said, "Today I didn't get any food." "Oh, you didn't get any food? So I believe you have started telling lies now?" "Lies? What lies?" "Well, you sent this huge thing, basket." "What basket? I never sent any basket." "Oh, so you started making lying a habit, and you also started beating children now. So we've understood you have become a different person now. What happened to your Brahmanical nature and habits?" So he said, "Look, I don't understand what you're talking about. Just tell me, what is the problem? What happened? What is all this? Where did you get all these things from? Please explain everything." So then she also started getting suspicious that something is wrong here. So she told the whole story. And he heard in amazement. And then he said, "Tell me the description of these boys. What did they look like? What were they wearing? How did they speak?" So then she described there were two young boys, very small boys, and they were very beautiful boys. One boy was dark, the other was very fair. And this one who was dark, he had a blue garment, a yellow garment he was wearing. And he had very curly, black, long, beautiful hair. And his eyes, they were like lotus petals. And his teeth were like pearls. And she went on describing. And then she described the other boy. She said he was wearing a blue garment. And she described him. And at that time, this Brahman, he was shell-shocked. Immediately he went inside to his room. His copy of the Bhagavad Gita was there. He opened it to that page and he saw that that mark was no longer there, where he had cut out. And then he fell unconscious to the ground and realized what had happened. What had happened? Who had come? Krishna and Balaram had come personally to give what was lacking in the house of this devotee. Because this devotee had a doubt, but he was otherwise a very surrendered devotee. But he had a doubt, how will Krishna personally come and give? So Krishna responded to the condition of this devotee, and immediately he came and fulfilled it. Because he wanted to restore the faith of this Brahman, that yes, what I have said in the Bhagavad Gita is true. One time in one lecture, Prabhupada said, it was a Hindi lecture, he said, Krishna didn't descend here to speak lies. Krishna did not incarnate here to speak lies. In other words, when he says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, that I will protect what you have and provide what you need, he is not lying. And when he says Vahamyaham, that means he will personally do it for us, not necessarily through an agent. So then, he understood that when he had cut that line, because the Bhagavad Gita is not different from Krishna, that cutting the line because he didn't have faith in that line or had doubts was actually as good as beating Krishna with a cord in the back. So the line that the injury that Krishna showed the Brahmana's wife was actually that. Because he had cut this saying, no, this is wrong. So Krishna had shown that injury on the back, and that was the significance of that cut. And then the Brahmana fell unconscious. He came to external consciousness again. And then he began to glorify his wife. He said, you are such a great devotee. You personally had darshan of Krishna and Balaram. You personally fed him with your own hands. And I am so unfortunate because I was doubtful. I was a doubter. Sanshayatma. Sanshaya means doubt. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sanshayatma vinashyati. A doubtful soul will perish in this world, has to be born and reborn again and again and again. So then he began to glorify his wife, saying, you are such a great devotee. Yes, that is a fact. So therefore we see that we must have faith that if we are Krishna conscious, then everything will be provided for in our life. But that if is very important. If we are Krishna conscious, we must have that faith, and we must consider Krishna consciousness as the most important thing in our life. We must not give it number 2 position in our life. It must be number 1. All other things, whether it is our family affairs, whether it is our health, whether it is our livelihood, whatever may be the situation, everything will be taken care of if we develop staunch faith in Krishna consciousness as the only and ultimate goal of our life. And we take it very seriously. This faith ultimately will take us back to Godhead. On the other hand, if we are doubtful, then we have to take birth again. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ashraddhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Sansara Sagarat. He says, for those who are unfaithful, who don't have faith in me and in Krishna consciousness, then they have to return to this material world again in the cycle of birth and death. They cannot come back to me. But on the other hand, if we are faithful, then Krishna says, yes, he will come back to me and get relieved of all problems once and for all. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanmaneti mameti soarjuna. Krishna says that one who understands in truth the divine or transcendental nature of my appearance and activities in this world will never have to take birth again in this material world. Rather, he will return to me, to my kingdom. So this is the important thing. So what does it mean by when Krishna says tattvataha? To know the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and actions? Tattvataha? What does it mean to say that we should know these things in truth? We should have faith. We should know it correctly, and we should have faith. So Krishna says if we have faith, then he will take us back to Godhead. But sanshayatma vinashyati. If you don't have faith, then you will have more faith on materialistic things, and you will think that your money can save you, or your family can save you, or your strength and intelligence, or your career, or whatever else can save you. But when we give number one priority to Krishna consciousness, then Krishna takes care of our life. That doesn't mean that when we become devotees, then we have to do nothing, then we sit back, because now Krishna will take care of my life. Part of being Krishna conscious is that you have to work for His pleasure. But in that work, there is no anxiety, no material anxiety. Or even if there is, Krishna says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. So therefore we should take Krishna consciousness very seriously. We should have strong faith in this as the goal of our life. So I'm very thankful to Nityananda Priya Prabhu and Vasudha Priya Mataji, and also to Shyam Sundar for having hosted us this evening. Thank you for coming here, all of you, even though it's a cold evening, and for having patiently heard this discourse. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any at this time. So feel free to ask any questions.
How do you keep like a steady faith when you see bad things happening in the community, very advanced?
Okay, the question is that how do we keep strong faith when we see bad things happen to very advanced devotees also? You mean like some health problem or financial problem or demise, unexpected death, and so on? Well, you see, Krishna doesn't promise that there will be no difficulty in this world. So long as this material body is there will be difficulty. Because after all, He has described this material world as being dukkhalayam, as the abode of dukkha, or misery. So this form of misery will come in everybody's life, whether we are devotee or not. However, the miseries that come in the lives of devotees are different from the miseries that come in the lives of non-devotees. Why? Because the devotees that come in the lives of non-devotees are coming as a result of their karmic reactions alone. They have to suffer or enjoy the results of their karma. For devotees, to some degree there may be some karmic reaction left, but largely it is Krishna who personally intervenes in their life. And if He thinks that giving that devotee some so-called misery is necessary for that devotee's spiritual advancement, for some reason beyond our comprehension, then He may do that. So a devotee's misery is not like the misery of the non-devotees. And when the devotee actually suffers, the devotee's faith actually increases. When the non-devotee suffers, his faith reduces. Why did God do this to me? So I better not go. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of the mothers of soldiers in Germany and England during the Second World War. Both are Christian countries. And in both countries, the mothers of the young soldiers were praying to the same God, please protect our sons. But naturally, soldiers die in a war. So sons on both sides died. So many ladies and mothers became atheists at that time. So why did God not heed our prayer? Why did He not protect our sons? In a war, some people are going to die, so they are praying that their son should not die. These people are praying their son should not die. So they say they lost faith. But a devotee never loses faith. Actually, the devotee's suffering very quickly finishes off whatever little karma is left in that devotee's life. It otherwise may have taken a very long time to come. Ordinarily, had that person not been a devotee, these karmic reactions would have required that person to take birth many times. But now that this suffering comes in one's life, Krishna gives a condensed dose so that this devotee doesn't have to take future births. Finish off in this life everything. So then go back to Godhead, whatever is the quota. And Krishna will give it in very reduced form. So the difficulties that come in the lives of devotees are done by Krishna's arrangement. And also to strengthen the faith of, or to show devotees, other people, how great devotees behave in times of suffering and how their faith remains unshaken. When Prahlad was put in misery, apparently, he was not perturbed. His father attempted to kill him in many different ways, but his faith remained staunch. So for us as prospective devotees, it is very inspirational. How despite going through such suffering, Prahlad was not agitated. He didn't complain to Krishna, I have served you so much and this is what you're doing to me. Why should I worship you? He never complained. He said, my Lord, this body also belongs to you. If you want to take it away, you want to injure it, you want to destroy it, it's yours. You may do as you like with this body. So he was peaceful. It was Krishna's problem. So Krishna protected him, because he depended completely on Krishna. Any other question?
Maharaj, how can we practice constantly remembering Krishna every time?
How can we practice constantly remembering Krishna? That means remembering Krishna all the time. We can begin by trying to remember Krishna for some of the time. Yes? Then some of the time will lead to all the time later. And that some of the time can increase, some more, till it becomes all. It has to begin somewhere. So when we associate with devotees, then we think of Krishna because we hear about Krishna, chant Krishna's names. Then we also chant japa. Then we read the books like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Then we think of Krishna more. So the more involved we become in Krishna conscious activities and association, the more we start thinking of Krishna. The deeper we go into it, the more Krishna conscious we become. Then the more and more we can think about Krishna. Till the time will come when we will think of Krishna always. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. Krishna says in Gita, O Arjuna, therefore, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, at all times, 24 hours a day, mam anusmara, go on remembering me. The word anu as a prefix indicates in this context continuously. Not that you remember me sometime and then forget about me and then again after some time remember me. No. Continuously remember me. Always remember me. As you do what? Yudhyacha. As you are fighting. Even as you are fighting the battle, you constantly remember me. So we are also fighting in our struggle for existence in this world. So don't forget Krishna. keep the association of devotees, have faith in the Krishna conscious process as the most important thing in life. Give that priority over other things, and all other things will be adjusted and settled by Krishna's grace. Okay? Yes.
Maharaj, day-to-day life, you are right, we are seeing so many people dying. I accept it, but my question is, although we know that people are dying, and although we accept that death is it's there, but what is that making me to forget these things and engage me in doing mundane things? What is that motivating me to do those things? Although I know that Krishna consciousness, or although those things are not really required.
So your question is, what is it that prevents us from realizing that death will come any time? That although yes, we see death happening everywhere, but still we think it may not happen to us. And so what is it that prevents us from actually seeing this, even though we are seeing it? It's called Pashyannapi na pashyati. Pashyan means to see. Pashyannapi na pashyati. You see, but still you don't see. Right? So what happens when a person becomes very angry, let's say? He loses his senses. He sees something, but still he doesn't see. He does something which he otherwise would not have done. He sees, but still he doesn't see. An intoxicated person does things he would not have done otherwise. He sees, but still he doesn't see. An intoxicated person, let's say, will go on the street and behave publicly in ways that he would never have done had he been sober. He's seeing the same street, the same people, but when he's intoxicated, he sees them, but still he's not seeing. Because of the intoxication, then he behaves differently. But when he's sober, he sees them, and he sees them now clearly. So he says, no, I can't behave like this in front of them. So similarly, when we are influenced by Maya, the illusory energy of God, of Krishna, then we cannot see what is obviously there in front of us. It's so clear. But Maya is so strong that we cannot see the obvious. This is how powerful illusion or Maya is. So to get over Maya, we have to surrender to Krishna. That is the only way. Daivihi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that my Maya Shakti, divine Shakti, is impossible to cross over. But for one who surrenders to me, then it is easily possible. Right? Yes.
Maharaj, my question is, sometimes we think that we have come to Australia to make the better career, and so that and then we don't feel like focusing on the spiritual path. So what should we do to overcome that?
Your question is that sometimes we feel that we have come to Australia to make our better career, so we don't want to focus on our Krishna consciousness. Don't feel like focusing on spiritual life. Because Pashyannapi na pashyati. Because you're not seeing the hole in the boat. So you think that your career will save you. You think that your career will give you happiness. You think that by just making progress in your career, then you will be a successful person. We give too much importance to our career at the cost of our spiritual life. Once we understand that livelihood is important, but only because it can help us to survive, to become Krishna conscious. That understanding is required. Otherwise, our career in and of itself has no meaning and no value. What is the point in being very career-minded and wanting to progress in your career if ultimately it's all going to blow up? When everything is so temporary, the benefit of it is just for a few moments, a few years. Why are we focusing so much on this to our detriment when it comes to our eternal benefit? Just for the sake of some temporary benefit, we are depriving ourselves of eternal benefit. It's like, imagine a businessman has two options before him. He has two contracts to do. You can do one or the other. Or maybe you can do a little bit of both, but it's hard. One is you get a profit of $10. And the other one, with the same effort, you can get a profit of $10 million. Now, which one, if the person now still wants to go for the $10 profit, the same endeavor, what would you say? Say it boldly. Fool. You said it. He's foolish, isn't it? So similarly, you pursue your career, what will you get? Some money, right? Some fame, some house, car, right? But when you die, it's all gone. On the other hand, if you become a serious devotee, what will you get? Eternal happiness, kingdom of God, freedom from suffering permanently. So we would rather have some temporary pleasure for a few years, and even then it's not going to be easy, it's a big struggle. And we give up, in contrast, that eternal happiness. Isn't it foolishness? Kacham vichinman api divya ratnam. Dhruva Maharaj says this. Dhruva Maharaj came to the Lord begging for a kingdom that was bigger than his grandfather's kingdom, greater than Brahma's kingdom. He was only a 5-year-old boy. But when, after doing tapasya, austerity, the Lord actually appeared before him, then Dhruva Maharaj changed his mind. He was so overwhelmed. Now that he had become Krishna conscious, he says, "My dear Lord, now I realize what a fool I was. I was seeking broken pieces of glass, but now I have received a priceless diamond." So what was the broken piece of glass? Rulership of what kind of kingdom? No, the entire universe. He was looking at obtaining the entire universe as his kingdom, not just one small country on one planet. And he considers that like broken pieces of glass, which nobody cares about. And now that he has got Krishna consciousness, he considers that priceless jewel, divine jewel. Divya Ratnam. Ratnam means diamond. Divya means divine. So if you're going to be overly career-minded, and for the sake of your career you compromise and you sacrifice your Krishna consciousness, it means you're going after broken pieces of glass and ignoring the priceless diamond. So is that something very wise? No. So therefore this needs some understanding. For example, a child will not understand the difference between a broken piece of glass and a diamond. He'll think the diamond is also the same value as the broken. He'll play it, throw it everywhere, here and there. If you give a baby a $500 or $100 note, you may just tear it up. Doesn't understand what is the value. So also because of the influence of Maya, because of lack of Krishna consciousness, we consider those things that are value less to be very valuable. And we consider the valuable things to be valueless. So we think our career is so important, so valuable, that we can give up the most valuable thing, which is Krishna consciousness, which can give us ultimate happiness in life. Right?
So how do we balance our life while doing the career and also the Krishna consciousness? How do we balance our life in both the ways? How do we utilize our career in advancing our Krishna consciousness?
So how do you balance out your career with Krishna consciousness? Well, by realizing that the career is not an end in itself. The career is just a means to give you some money, to give you some sense of dignity in the society, but principally to give you some money, so that you can keep body and soul together, family together, have house, so that you can peacefully do Krishna consciousness and progress in your spiritual life nicely. That's the purpose of the career. But if for you career becomes a goal in itself, then that is not good. So how do you balance it? First and foremost, keeping in mind what the goal of life is. The goal of life is Krishna consciousness and nothing else. The moment you think that the career is more important than it should be, then you will compromise your Krishna consciousness. So give your job, give your profession, rather than calling it career, just call it your profession, call it your job. Give as much attention to your job as is required for you to maintain that profession peacefully. Be sincere about your work. Be honest. Be hardworking. Do it to your best ability, because you know you're doing it for Krishna. And at other times, make sure that you attend satsangs, you chant and hear with devotees about Krishna, you read Prabhupada's books, you chant the holy names. In this way you will be able to balance your job or your profession on one hand and your other Krishna conscious activities on the other hand. Okay? Yes.
Well, in Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada says in one statement that we all living entities should go back to Godhead. That is our real home. But this world doesn't belong to us. This is Ashwata. In other statement, Prabhupada says that a pure devotee doesn't desire to personally associate with Krishna. He doesn't desire to go to higher planet. He just wants to serve, whether he's living on this earth or hell or anywhere else. So these two statements makes me both complicated. So can you please?
Okay, so the question is that at one place Prabhupada says that we should get liberated from the cycle of birth and death and go back to the spiritual world and live forever with Krishna. At another place Prabhupada says that a pure devotee of the Lord doesn't even want to go to the spiritual world. He simply wants to serve Krishna in any condition of life, whether it is on earth, in heaven, in hell, in the spiritual world, anywhere. He simply wants to serve Krishna. So, which of the two is correct? Because this seems like a contradiction. Anyone would like to answer this question? To resolve my confusion in this matter? Yes. What could be the answer to this question?
I'm just thinking that the pure devotee always wants to serve. So even in the spiritual world, where Krishna is still serving them, if he's still here, he's still serving. So service is the ultimate
Yes.
goal of pure devotee.
Yes, that's the second part, that a pure devotee only wants to serve. Then why does Prabhupada say that we should aspire to come out of the cycle of birth and death and go to the spiritual world?
Soul will remain the same. Soul, whether it's here or whether it's at
Yeah, but then why Prabhupada is saying then you should think about going back to Godhead, you should understand this is a place of misery. Why not just simply serve here even if it's a place of misery? That's his question. Yes.
So one should
Because
not.
Krishna is in spiritual world, and there you can serve him more better in this world. Because here you have to face the misery, there would be misery, only Krishna and Krishna. That's where we belong to. And both the
Okay.
sentence mean the same thing for me. I just felt that mean that at the end you want to serve Krishna, then why not go where Krishna actually is?
At the end you want to serve Krishna, so why not go to where Krishna already is? Correct? Good answer. Because Krishna is there, so we want to go there and be with him, but is Krishna not here?
Krishna is here, but here you have to face difficulties.
That means you are attached, you don't want to get difficulties?
No, but
You want to...
here, this is a place of misery, right? So, here,
That means your goal of life is to avoid, you have selfish desire, you want to avoid misery.
no, but it's like here we are getting difficulties to even serve Krishna, but there you won't have such difficulties also. Like what you explained him about the career, right? There you won't have any career difficulties. You will only have one goal in life, that's to serve Krishna. Here you have to fight with the material world, and then, so there.
So there is only one business, to serve Krishna, and here you have so many other obstacles that come. Right? But for a pure devotee, wherever he is Krishna, is Vrindavan. So then, obstacles may be there. Prahlad Maharaj was happy enough here. Someone is doing something to him, killing him, whatever, trying to kill him, he is happy.
Prabhupada says like a pure devotee always sees opportunity in every difficulties.
Pure devotee sees opportunity even in difficulty, yes. Okay, so the answer to the question really is that the first statement is meant for neophytes and non-devotees to encourage them to become Krishna conscious. And the second is for those very advanced devotees, very pure devotees. But initially, you have to understand that this is a place of misery. You have to have that philosophical understanding so that you don't fall victim to Maya. So that you don't unnecessarily strive for happiness in this world where you can't get happiness, material happiness. So for those who are new, or not experienced as devotees, or not very strong in their faith and consciousness, yes, for them, they should aspire. Because if that instruction is not given, then you will aspire to be here in this world and not serve Krishna also, just be here. So even Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says so many times, the one who knows me in truth comes back to me. Similarly, he says, Mam upete punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gataha. For one who obtains me, he returns to my kingdom and doesn't have to stay here in this material world which is full of misery. He attains that supreme perfection by coming back to my abode. Right? So the first statement is basically meant for us, ordinary people of this world, so that we can understand the relative positions of the material world and the spiritual world, and we'll know that our aspiration and sights should be on the spiritual. And the second is for those who have actually reached that goal, and also for us who want to reach that goal, we can think, yes, a day will come when we will also think like that. Although we can't try to imitate, like Kunti Maharani prays that please give me suffering. If you try to imitate and go to Krishna and say, please give me suffering, he will give you so much suffering. You say, no, you please. Right? So we can't imitate Kunti Maharani. So therefore for us it's important that we desire to get out of this material world. Because when the suffering comes, we can't take it. So yes, better we go to spiritual world and be there with Krishna always, serving him, But as our devotional consciousness advances and advances and advances, we realize our faith and love become so strong that it doesn't matter where we are. Whatever be the obstacles, whatever be the sufferings, material sufferings, we are fixed in Krishna. And then we say, wherever you want me to be, Krishna, I'm happy to be there just to serve you. That is the object. So this is one answer to the question. The second answer is that the way you can reconcile these two statements is also that even an advanced devotee may sometimes, often rather, aspire to go to Krishna Loka to serve Krishna in a specific way. That is called lalasa. Lalasa mai prarthana. Once, like in Tulasi, in the Tulasi prayers every day. Anyone has Tulasi Puja? You know Tulasi Puja? Prayers? We chant every day. Anyone remembers the prayers? Who said that? Yes. Say it.
Vilas Kunja Diyavas.
Mora e Abhilash. Vilas Kunja Diyavas. Seva Adhikara Diye Kora Nichidas. So we want to live in the kunjas of Vrindavan. We want to be there, participating in Krishna's pastimes there in the spiritual world. So in that state of perfection, we may have that perfected desire as well. That's on a different platform altogether. At the same time, the devotee is also perfectly willing to stay. That is the aspiration of his heart, the innermost desire of his heart. That he wants to serve Krishna in that particular way. But if Krishna wants him to be anywhere else, he's happy to do that. Okay? Yes?
We talk about reincarnation. Is it true that we humans always come back as humans in our next life or next birth?
Is it true that we humans always come back as humans in the next life? No. Maybe, maybe not. That depends on our karma. Certain types of karma will bring us back as humans. Certain other types of karma may take us to other species of life. And certain other types of spiritual activities, when performed in perfection, can take us beyond the cycle of birth and death into the spiritual world. Right?
And the second question is like, what was the reason behind creating Maya? Like you talk about Maya as well. So what was the purpose behind this creation?
What was the purpose behind the creation of Maya? Because the living entities who are here in this material world are here to try to be false enjoyers, independent from the Supreme Lord. In order to be false enjoyers and to try to enjoy this world, they have to forget Krishna. Otherwise it's not possible. So therefore this material world is a place of Maya, because that's Krishna's arrangement to facilitate the sinful desires of the rebellious living entities like us. However, Krishna has also given us a doorway to exit. An exit path is also given. That is to surrender to Him. That if you desire now to come out of Maya, then Krishna says, okay, here is the path. Then we accept Krishna consciousness and become perfect. Yes?
Maharaj, it is said like, Hare, it is said that Maha Mantra is Krishna himself, chanting his name is Krishna himself. So my question is, how can we chant without any inner motive? Or in other sense, how can we chant without any anarthas or something?
How can we chant without any material motives or without any unwanted things and anarthas in the heart? By practice, by prayer, by sincerity, and by being guided properly, sincerely following the process, It will come step by step, our chanting will improve. Okay? Alright, so thank you very much. We will stop here. It's quite late now. Some of you have to go back by public transport, isn't it? Yes? So we'll stop here. The questions we can have after the class is over. Then you can come to me and we can talk. Okay? Alright, thank you very much. So Nityananda Priya Prabhu, what is the program? Some kirtan or how should we? Kirtan. 5 minutes kirtan? Okay, and then prasadam for everybody. So I think we must give special credit to those with the balcony tickets. They stood out in the cold to hear this lecture. When I used to go to Russia and other cold places, I remember even when it was snowing, the temple hall was very small. And you had these devotees who were standing outside the window in the snow because there was no place inside the temple hall. The hall used to be full and they would be out shivering in the cold, but they wanted to hear the class. So with such staunch faith, even though they are Russians, born in Russia, but their faith in Krishna was admirable. But Indians, unfortunately, those born in India, mostly so materialistic and concerned about other things, but not Krishna consciousness. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरे कृष्णा. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.